All right. So let's open the projector here, and we're gonna create a new project. And new Java project, and I'm gonna call this my first GUI, I guess. And in this, I'm gonna create my I'm gonna create a class. And it'll have my public static void main. I'm gonna call this class, main program or something like that. Whatever you call it. So, like we said, we need to import this javax.swing, and I'm going to import all the classes. Now, this main program we're going to have this main program extend to JFrame. So this JFrame class is basically our canvas, right? And I want to create a constructor. Remember the constructor, we use them to set up some default values. But we have to come up with some dimensions for the window. So let's say I want to make a 300 by 300 window. I'm going to make a static and I'm going to call it window width. I'm gonna make it 300 and make another window height. Make it 300 for now. Just setting up some default values. And I want to set up a constructor. We can call it main window if you wanted. So our class pretty much doesn't have anything in it except a couple of constants, but it has a lot of methods, right? It has a lot of methods, all the methods that this class JFrame has. And if I press the word this, you can see all this. Quite a few. Right? So, the ones with the star, the methods are usually the favorites. There's this one called setTitle. And it says parameter is a string. And in the string, I'm just gonna put whatever Java class or something. It's whatever you want on the screen to show up. So I use the word this because I didn't remember the name of the method. And if I press this dot, it will show up. But if I remember the name of the method, then I don't have to do the word this. It's just for me to help, to get some help. There's another method called set size that takes a width and a height. Now, there's this other method, I don't remember the name, but it has to do with what do you want it to do when the user clicks the X button at the top right corner of the windows. So it's called set default close operation. And if you notice, it takes an integer as a parameter. It says set default close operation, and it takes an integer. And you could say what integer 0, 1, 2, 3, what? I got 2 or 32 options. But see this? There's a list of integers already created as a constants inside the class, and I can just pick this one that says exit on close. And again, if I remember the name of it, the method, I don't need the word this. Lastly, just because the object is in memory, it doesn't mean you can see it on the screen. There are a lot of objects in a program that probably you don't see that are actually created in memory, and they're just running in the background. So if you want this to be visible, all you have to do is type true. So if I run this, do you think my program will run? It sure runs. There's no errors. There it ran. Didn't do anything. Why is that? Well, the point of entrance is the main method, right? My main method has nothing. Alright. So I could declare a variable type main program here. I'm gonna call it window or win, and I can instantiate this new window. If I run it, there it is. There's my default canvas. Now, in many books, or when you go do this for a living, you will notice that in this case, when is really not used. I mean, we create a new program, but we don't use it anywhere. So I could get by just doing this. Now, or if you prefer, keep it like that, that's fine. Now, if I keep it, if I do win that, I can see all these methods, right, that were available. There's quite a few. Notice, there is this method called repaint that exists in the class component, as we had said on the whiteboard before. Also, there's this method called paint that takes this graphics reference as a parameter. So what's happening is this method exists on the class. This one exists on the class window. So I don't have to implement them. However, what do you think it'll happen if I make my own version of the method paint? Oh, well, first it gave me an error here. What it's saying, I need to import this other library because the class graphics does not exist in the swing library. So I gotta import this other library called java.awt. So if I make my own version of the method paint, the Java is gonna call my version, right? Now notice it kind of looks a little bit different. If I had called it paint 2, then it's kind of gray. I don't know if you can see it, but you probably see it in your computer. It's gray. But if I make my own, now it's kind of white. There's nothing painted there. See, they're different. This is with their version, this is with my version. Bless you. So basically it wants me to write my own, what do you want to display on the screen. We can get creative here. So this parameter graphics or type graphics is a parent class of this other class called graphics 2D. So this graphics 2D is implementing that graphics. So I'm gonna call this G2. So right now, so when I pass a parameter that's an object, what do I pass? You remember? You pass the address, right? Because all the objects that are variables that hold object, that are type objects, all they do is an address to hold an address, right? So how can I convert this these graphics to a graphics 2 dimensions? Well, we can cast it. So I can say G2 equals graphics 2D, and I'm gonna now what this graphics 2D does, it's like a pen. So, like on the whiteboard, I go grab a pen, well, grab a marker, right? And I pick the color of the marker and then write on it. So I can pick colors here. So I don't know what the methods are for these graphics two-dimensional. So I've just typed G2 and then dot, and all these methods come available. Some of them say graphics 2D, some of them say graphics, I'm sorry. So there's one that's in the graphics, which is in the parent class, called set color. And then I can make it, I don't know, I'm gonna make it black. And I can start getting crazy here. I can do whatever I want. So for instance, I can draw and look at how many draws are here. Or I can just actually, let's make the whole window black. How's that? So I do the fill rectangle. And it tells me what I need. I need position X and Y. Where do I start? And how wide and how tall do you want this rectangle to be? Well, I want to start at the position 0. So the upper left corner. X and Y being 0. And what will be the width? Oh, we're gonna use the width we had as a constant. I can run this, see what happens. So now I got a black window. Now, this black window, we can draw on it. And we were drawing a black rectangle, but then we can do other stuff. So let's say we want to make you know what Galaga is? So I had my, as a final project, I don't know if it's going to allow us this semester, but usually that's my last project. I have people write Galaga in Java. And in that game, you have space, and the space is black, and then you have some stars and some sun, planets, whatever. So we can start drawing points. And since you already watched the videos about arrays, that's why I needed you to watch them. I don't have to get in too much detail about that. So I'm gonna make them another class. Let's make another class, and this class is gonna be our stars. So I'll call this star. We're not gonna make our Death Star, but that would be cool. So this star has a position. So we're gonna have this private int, I'm gonna call it current X and current Y maybe. I have two. And I need their correspondent accessors and mutators. Or I can just make them the accessors. I don't need people to modify them. So let me show you something, a trick that's in Eclipse. You could go here to source. So I created my two fields, right? Then I go to source, and I can click where it says generate getters and setters, and I want both, and I want to just get the getters. You can expand this so you can get or set. See, it makes the methods for you, and I can just make it public, and then they show up. Public. So there I got the getters here, or mute accessors, right? You made it for me. Now, why did I not allow the mutators? Well, we're gonna make the stars at random, right? So remember what class we use for random number generator? We found that in the java.utility.random. And because we only need one random generator, this is the way we did it in the die class, remember? So if I only need one, I can make this static random. Now, notice this. We need, like in the die class, we created a constructor, and in that constructor we checked if the random class existed. How do we do that? We just compare it if the address reference is a null. If the address is null, then we create the random class. But I would like to have the mutators. You can, but how do you prevent them from being accessed from the outside? Yeah, exactly. You can make them private. So you can make your mutators, and you can make private void set x, and private void set y. And of course, these are easy, right? Current x equals x and current y equals y. I'm gonna put them in all in one line to make some room so you can read it. So far so good? Alright. So after I create a random, I would like to set a random X and a random Y. So if you remember, in the die, when we do the random, we set what was the highest number, right? Because we had maximum size was 6. So we could use this method called ran, and then we can set as parameter what's the highest number exclusive. So we could say current X equals random dot next int. So what do you think should be the maximum X? The X is the horizontal or horizontal component. So what do you think should be the maximum X allowed?
300.
Okay, so how do I access that 300? I can just go main program that width, because we made those constants, and because they're static, we can just refer them by the class. So I can also do the same thing for the main program height. All right. So far, so good. Now, going back to our main program, I want to have a bunch of stars. And I'm going to make this max stars. How many stars do you want? Let's say we want 100 stars. Okay. So if you watch the videos, you know how to make an array, right? So how to declare an array? You can look at this here. That's an array, right? So I can make an array here, and this one has to be, well, it doesn't matter if you make it public or private. We'll make it private. And we want an array of stars. So this is an array of stars, so it has the type and then the square brackets. I call it Cosmos, whatever you want to call that variable. So now I have a field, right? So how many stars does that array have? It doesn't have any right now. So before I do my title here, I'm gonna, in my constructor, that's where I create my array. How do I allocate memory? What's the keyword? There's only one keyword that allocates memory. What is it? It's called new, right? And I say I want an array of whatever maximum stars you have. So what this is doing in memory, that's why I was so animated you watch those videos. I'm gonna limit it to 5 just for the example here. So when I declare this variable type star, it's just a pointer. So this is an array. The type, the name is Cosmos, and its value is nothing. So because an array is also an object, it's pointing nowhere. Then let's assume it's only 5 stars. So, okay, so for the example, I'm gonna put 5 here. So when the computer gets to this line of code, when it calls the constructor, whatever's on the right side of the equal sign executes first, right? So in the right side, it says create new stars. But notice I have square brackets, I don't have parentheses. So what it's gonna do is gonna create an array of 5 stars. Or actually no, it's gonna create an array of 5 addresses that points to a star. So this is that code, the new star max, and it says this is a pointer to a star. So I had created 5 pointers to stars with this line of code. I don't have a name for those because they're pointers. They hold addresses. What address are they holding right now? They're holding no address. So in here, I'm gonna use the positions, and this should be 0. There. So the index is the position. So I created 5 stars, then it created 0 to 4 pointers. So did I create any stars yet? No. I created an array with 5 stars, and the array is pointing nowhere. So now in the array I need to create each individual star. I need to instantiate each individual star. So I could use a loop to create a loop, and in that loop I could say Cosmos, in here, after I created it, now Cosmos has the address of that array, right? So now each position I can access it by using the square brackets, and each one will be a new star. And this one calls the constructor because that has parentheses. So what this is gonna happen, what it's gonna do in this for loop, I'm gonna create 5 stars. So I'm gonna assume each star is this X and Y to set of addresses. So that's 1 star. So that's coming here. Right, and then they create another star. And then it's a different color. And so on. You get the point? So the green star is an address 1640. So Cosmos, the variable Cosmos, is pointing to an array, which is in this address. And the green star is in position 2 of that array. So there are my 5 stars. So if I run this program, I get no errors, but no stars display. Why? Just because they're in memory doesn't mean they're display, right? That's why we set this set visible true. So that's why we use this method called paint. So wait a minute, I don't call this method paint anywhere. So what's happening is, but you call this method called set visible true, right? So in the back end, this method has built in at some point get a graphics reference, which we don't have anywhere. It's done internally to the graphics card, and then calls this method paint. Because we wrote it, if we didn't have this method, it'll just call the regular paint method in the K-frame. But because we inherited this class and we overrode, remember, we can override any method. Well, any overridable method, I guess. There's ways that you can prevent a method to be overridden. So it's there, but now I want to paint those stars. I'm gonna put back the 100 stars. So how do I paint? Well, I need to find the position of all those stars. The first thing I want to do is I want to change my color. Because if I make them all black, then you won't see the difference. I'm just gonna pick the cyan. So I change my pen color. So set color changes your pen color. And after I made them all, I'm gonna paint everything from now on is gonna be that color. I'm gonna call that I'm gonna read all the stars and see what their positions are. Oops. Capital S. I could have a variable for the stars. I could call it star, current star if you want, to make it easier on you. But you don't really need it. And then my current star is my Cosmos I. So that current star is just a local variable that's currently holding. It goes from 0 to 99 and holds these addresses, right? Now I know the star. I can use the graphics to paint something. gonna call this method called fill rectangle again. Alright, so what will be the X position? Whatever the star's X is, right? So it will be my current star dot get it current X, and my current star dot current Y. And let's make it 2 pixels wide for now. And run it. Tell me what you see. So if you run it, you should see something like that, right? If you run it again, they're all random. Questions? Does it start making sense now? Now, we want to move the stars. Alright. So if we move these stars, let's say we move them down. I make this method public void move down. How do I move the star down? What coordinate do I change? What component? I increase the Y, right? So whatever it is, I just increase the Y, and it'll move them all down. So, well, what happened? We set the window to be 300. So what happens when it reaches 300? What you want it to do? You want it to go back up in the same spot, or you want it to appear somewhere else? All right. So we gotta check, right, if the current Y is less than the if it's the same, if it's less, we can just increase it, right? So we can say actually before I do that, since you want it to appear somewhere else, we can make a method public void, and we'll make it private actually, and we call it star position. Well, no. So wait. So if it appears somewhere else, the Y should be 0, right? The X is the one that's gonna show up somewhere else. So we should have it the way we had it before. So if the current Y is less than the main program height, then I'm gonna set the Y to be right. But if it's not, I'm gonna set the current Y to be 0. But I also want the X to be somewhere else, right? So then I can kind of copy this one. All right, so how do we move this down? Oops. So in here. How do I call the paint method periodically? So we did the counter, right? When we did the for loop, the while loop, we did a counter. So I'm gonna give you this code, and then we're gonna study it later when we come back from the break. So I'm gonna refresh this every 50 milliseconds, and it says it's gonna be it's yelling at me because it says you need to have it between try and catch. I'm gonna put it like this. And then, so how many times do I want this stars to move? So we can make a limit. We can say integer, you know, current tick. I'm gonna call it. Call 0, and I can do a while loop here. While the current tick is less than, I don't know, the so every time the thread goes to sleep, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna repaint this, oops, and then increase my tick. Oh wait, it's the wind, sorry. So I repaint the window 100 times. Look what happens here. Oh, they're not moving. Oh, because we don't move them. I didn't call them to move. Though. So, after the threads wakes up or goes to sleep, I wanna say I less than. I'm just gonna, oops, Cosmos I that. Why nothing comes up? Oh, I know why. This is what we're gonna do. Let's put this in a method somewhere. Boy, we call it move Cosmos. I'm gonna call it like that, and that's where I'm gonna put it. And let's copy this whole thing in there. down. So copy that method called move cosmos. And of course in here, after you create a window, you move the cosmos. And look what happens when I run it. They're stopping at 100. You can increase the speed by slowing down the sleep time. I think 10 is pretty good. 10 milliseconds. That'll be too fast, right? So right now it's stopping after 100 times. I'm gonna teach you how to make it always stay on. But that will be when we come back from in 2 weeks. So copy that, we'll come back in 10 minutes.